What's up, friends, and welcome into Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Chris Welsh, and today we are talking about a player to target in every single round. That's right, we are going through the draft. It's not a mock draft. It's going to be the favorite picks with two of my favorite people. We got Derek Brown, the king of bros, in the house, and Mason Dodd from Flock Fantasy. We are going to be hitting tons of players, and we are even going to figure out who's the one player that both of these fine gentlemen have to leave their draft with. That is what we got covered. But Mason, what's the deal with upstaging us here? You look so professional and good. Good Lord,
well,
here.
I've been planning on this for a month. I mean, as y'all can tell, I've been growing the beard to catch up to D-Bro. So if y'all would have given me one extra week, I think I could have surpassed him.
Oh, you would have surpassed me easy.
I mean, if you guys had to flock over, no pun intended, from the podcast to the video for the Hot Ones episode to see, you're going to have to see just all dolled up. Mason's very dolled up here, so it's a good look. We're going to be covering all of these bad boys in every draft, target every player to pick. D-Bro, how did you come about? Like, how tough was this for you to identify one player per round? We have some parameters, we're using ECR. You kind of have to pretend when we do stuff like this where you are in a draft. You have to kind of pick a spot. We do articles on this as well on Fantasy Pros. Like I did it for the perfect draft scenario. Like, so what was your kind of process in picking where you are in a draft that's going to dictate how you're leaving as far as your target for every round?
Some of this came down to like guys in these rounds that I think can be differentiators or basically the staples that determine some leagues. Other parts, man, this was hard in certain parts of this. Like we get to round 5 and round 6, like there were so many players where I'm like, I want to pick like 2 or 3 players from round 5. But again, with the parameters of this, so some of this comes down to whether it's league winning upside, players that can really define this fantasy season, as well as we're going through this, I went to the approach of some of these picks, and I'll highlight this at certain points, how you would like, if I would walk away, like this was the perfect draft that I could conduct throughout the year and building a full roster and stuff. So a lot of different ways, and we'll kind of get through all of this as we go through, but a lot of different ways to look at this and how we're pulling out certain players.
Mason, is there a spot in any part of, so if you're picking like a KDS type of thing and you're picking where you are, is there a good spot in a round that you think perfectly enables you to cherry pick some of these players? So like, here's an example. Obviously, if you were to say Jamar Chase is the guy I have to leave every round with, you'd have to be like, I have the number 1 overall pick. But, let's say 5 or 6 kind of gives you a little bit of wiggle room where, you can start manifesting the draft exactly how you want it. Is there like a really nice spot in this year in the rounds that you want to target?
So this is something you really have to think about. Like next week, I actually have the way that we are determining the draft order for the Flock League. And I'm actually going to try to get like 11th or 12th because I think if you're looking at the tier of players at the very top of the draft board, there are like 14 or 15 guys in my mind that you can make an argument for being round 1 picks. So if you can like put yourself in like 10, 11 or 12, and you can walk away with 2 of those, in my opinion, round 1 profiles, it's just like hard to beat a team if you have Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins in the first 2 rounds,
Exactly. Well, let's jump into it. I do want to remind you guys to check us out over at fantasypros.com/kit to get the draft kit today, because a lot of the advice that we're talking about in here, we have got placed out for different personalities. D-Bro, myself, Andrew Erickson, Pat Fitzmaurice. We got a whole bunch of those where you can go and see where we've put together. Here are the we actually have one where it's like, here are all the targets we like in this round. And it might be multiple targets by position, full breakdowns of what does a perfect draft look like, plus ranks and a ton more. Go over to fantasypros.com/kit. There's some free offerings in there. There's some premium stuff, but get prepped for your draft today. Draft smarter, not harder. Let's jump into this bad boy, and let's start with our round by round targets. We are going to go to round 1. Mason, why don't you start us off here? Who is your perfect target in round 1?
I'm going to go ahead and take CeeDee Lamb. So the way that I priced like what player goes in round 1, round 2, round 3 is on my side. I have a consensus ADP list where we take the average ADP from Yahoo, ESPN, and Sleeper Drafts. And there actually sees CeeDee Lamb going behind Justin Jefferson in pick 6 in a lot of these drafts. And if you actually look at the points per game that we've had from the top 3 wide receivers over the past 2 seasons with CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson, I went ahead and I looked at all the games in which Dak Prescott played. all the games in which Joe Burrow played. And then obviously we have no games with McCarthy. But if we look at all the games with Dak Prescott for CeeDee Lamb, he's actually averaged 22.1 points per game over the past 2 years. Chase with Burrow has averaged 22.0, and Justin Jefferson's been at 19.2. And now that you have the Justin Jefferson potential hamstring question mark, and while McCarthy has a lot of upside, but we can't be 100% certain that he's the guy, I think CeeDee Lamb's in a really good spot to just potentially be the wide receiver 1 overall that you can get a pick 6.
Yeah, and there's a lot of argument about like what Dak did in 2023 as far as a fantasy quarterback, what he does for CeeDee Lamb. And we talked about this in a previous episode as well, of like when you start to break into tiers, like, is there an argument that Jamar Chase doesn't belong with anybody because he is his own? Or can you really look and see the scenarios where not only a Justin Jefferson, but a CeeDee Lamb can be number 1? Just a quick reaction on CeeDee Lamb for you, D-Bro.
I mean, I love the pick of Lamb. And the thing that I want to highlight for both of our picks here, you don't need that top 3 pick. So like when I was approaching this, I didn't want to pick a player, to your point, Welsh, where you needed a top 2 or 3 pick, like to get these guys. So like I wanted to highlight somebody that I'm going to target aggressively and that has, especially in round 1, has RB1, wide receiver 1 type of upside where they can be the number 1 at their position this year.
And you picked a really interesting name, and I'm actually surprised you went with a running back that we're going to talk about, but you want to talk about upside. He's got a lot of it. There's just some questions on where is it going to end up being. So your target in round 1 is who at running back?
Ashton Jeanty, man. And a player that right now, if you're looking at ADP on fantasypros.com right now, he's 11th overall, depending on the site that you're drafting on, anywhere from 8th to 12th. So if you're drafting at the back end, and I love how Mason brought up, I want to be drafting at the turn this year for the exact reasons that Mason brought up here. But Jeanty's in that 4 to 5 pack of players that have a first round type of profile, but sometimes you can get him in round 2 or at the back end of round 1. And for Jeanty, I think he can have a rookie season very akin or close to what Saquon Barkley did in his rookie season. And everybody says, oh, the Raiders, it's the Raiders. And you know, we've heard like earlier in the offseason about, oh, Raheem Mostert's going to be involved. Dude, I don't believe any part of that. You don't draft Ashton Jeanty where he went, and you don't put him in this offense to sit here and incorporate a lot of other running backs. He's going to be their bell cow running back. And I think we could talk about tackle breaking, talent, all those parts with Jeanty. But specifically what I think kind of gets lost in the entire conversation is his passing game upside. Like, yes, I like Jakobi Meyers. A little foreshadowing, could be talking about him later. I like Brock Bowers, but if either one of those guys goes down, they miss any time, like this is a very consolidated passing offense. The offensive line is really good, if not like at bare minimum, going to be league average. So I'm not worried about the blocking up front. But the point that I've loved about Jeanty here is that his pass game utility is not getting talked about enough to where he could be a guy that catches 80 balls this year and nobody should be surprised, as well as having to where, you know, we're splitting hairs between Achane and other players. Jeanty could roll up the freaking volume. Like this is a guy they're probably not worried about giving 20 carries to every single week. He could have a Christian McCaffrey type of workload for the Raiders, and then we're just talking about touchdowns. So like if he is their main touchdown guy when they get inside the 5 or the 10, and this offense outperforms expectation, Jeanty has the receiving upside and the volume upside to be a top 3 back in his rookie season.
One of the things that does stand out is he is definitely a what could be versus what has been and what has been consistently. He just moved down in Fantasy Pros ECR to 13, actually. He just got, probably just happened. And it looks like McCaffrey is one that moved up. So I kind of think there's a very interesting dynamic, Mason, between Christian McCaffrey and Ashton Jeanty, because there is world's your oyster with Jeanty. We know who McCaffrey can be, but there's a massive injury concern in there. If you had to pick between the two, is it Jeanty or McCaffrey for you?
I love Jeanty. I actually just got him in round 2 of a Yahoo mock draft I did on my channel. But I still would go McCaffrey over Ashton Jeanty personally. I 100% agree with everything that D-Bro said. Like, if you look at Jeanty, he led college football in receiving 2 years ago at the running back position. I haven't heard anybody talk about that. Like, it's wild. For me, the reason I would prefer McCaffrey, though, is just the offensive environment. I think sportsbooks have the Niners projected out to be a top 5 scoring offense this year if the schedule's too good. Whereas the Raiders, I think they projected to be the 6th lowest scoring offense. So I 100%, I think that Jeanty is a phenomenal pick at the 1-2 turn based off volume. but I would probably go McCaffrey if I had to choose between the two.
Yep, me too. Christian McCaffrey, me too. There. Let's make a shocker to everybody, right?
49ers Homer says what?
Yeah. It says Christian McCaffrey. Let's move to round 2. We're going to round 2 here for the targets. Mason, we're going to come back to you. We're not going to like snake it or anything. Mason, he's our esteemed guest, so he gets to go first every time, D-Bro. So Mason, your target in round 2 is who?
Right back to like targeting players of the 1-2 turn. You want a late pick. You have to have an early second to get Devon Achane, but if you can get it, Devon Achane last year in games that Tua played averaged 22.6 points per game. He was number 1 in the NFL among all running backs with 6.64 targets per game, and number 1 in the NFL with all running backs with 48 receiving yards per game in the games that Tua played in. So if you're in a full PPR format, I think you can make a strong argument that Devon Achane should be going in the middle to the end of round 1. And right now, if you're looking at Yahoo drafts, he goes at pick 16. Sleeper drafts, he goes at pick 16. And then ESPN, he's going to pick 12 or 13. So I think it's a round 2 pick that should be a round 1 pick most years.
I'm pretty hardcore about like, I really would love to get some combo in the second round. And McCaffrey's moving out of that, but it's like McCaffrey, Achane, Jeanty, like even Derrick Henry, just even though he's not like the PPR thing, but just the massive volume. It's like, give me one of those guys in the second round to have paired with a great wide receiver is a perfect scenario for myself. But Mr. Derek Brown, what do you think about Achane real quick? Quick thoughts on Achane as a second round target. Obviously, with Jonnu Smith out of there, we're kind of speculating on where all those other targets are going to go. Maybe some to Waddle. I think we all want to pretend it's all going to go to Achane, regardless of what Tyreek Hill tells us in the goal line or anything. Achane, we want him to get the ball all the time. But what say you, Derek Brown?
I love everything Mason laid out here. I emphatically agree with him. He's my 12th overall player. I want to stay ahead of consensus on Achane. I think he's worth a first round pick. Or like if you could start a running back or wide receiver, Achane is a great target at the beginning of the second. And the thing from Achane is we've seen the mishmash of 2 very different seasons where he did it on extreme efficiency in his rookie year. Last year got the pass game. What if we get the season this year where he meshes those 2 together? We get the high end efficiency and we get the pass game upside. Like that's the type of player that could put up a Jahmyr Gibbsian, Christian McCaffrey, Jeanty, that type of season where he's a league defining player.
That's funny you say that too, because like it does feel like he's just a notch away from being like everything we're kind of projecting Jahmyr Gibbs to be. You know, he's just a player too. I think the offense is what makes us less comfortable about it, especially with what they were doing with it last year. But full PPR moves even further. Half PPR, Achane still a great target. D-Bro, I am not shocked by this one. This guy has some pretty wide variance on where he goes as far as the wide receiver, but there's a little crew here. There's a little pocket of fantasy pros that feels that maybe Drake London could be the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy, and that is your target in the second round.
And that's exactly what I think people need to be going for. Again, harping on this, like Mason and I have talked about this multiple times, but taking guys in round 2 that honestly have round 1 type of profiles and could lead their position. I mean, it's wheels up, man. Like I went back and forth and I hit you up this morning about it. Like I actually picked Brian Thomas Jr. just shout out like originally for this because it's so tough for me. But I think looking at both of these guys, Drake London is the guy that I go with here. It's the fact that he is going to be the unquestioned number 1 in this passing attack. What we saw last year, the splits between Cousins and Penix, going from a 25% target share basically to a 39% target share. I don't think that holds up the entire season. But now Darnell Mooney being banged up. Like Drake London's probably going to be sniffing a 30 to 35% target share every single week if Mooney misses time, much less he's going to be around that 30% mark this year just regardless. Like this is a player that could lead the NFL in targets. And if that happens, nobody should be surprised because he was 3rd in targets last year. So 157, can he get up into that 170, 180 range? It definitively can happen. And the one part of his game that we haven't seen a ton of because of bad quarterback play, even last year with Kirk Cousins, the downfield usage with Michael Penix, that is going to give Drake London the ability for more ceiling weeks than we saw last year. And you combine all of that with the red zone utility, Drake London could lead the NFL in targets. And if he spikes 12 to 15 touchdowns this year, which is definitively possible with how consolidated this offense, like we know the ball was going to London and it's going to Bijan in Atlanta. London could be the wide receiver 1 overall this year.
The interesting thing with Drake London as well, in the top 25 overall players, so the overall looking here, he is tied for the highest differential between his ECR rank, his expert consensus rank, and his ADP, his average draft position. So he is going 4 spots lower in drafts than where he's being ranked. So, Mr. Mason Dodd, are you a Drake London truther?
Yeah, what's actually really interesting is on our site, we have like a range of outcomes tool where you can go back to 2008 and look at the most comparable seasons at that certain age. Drake London's age 23 year. The best comps or the closest comps are Jamar Chase in 2023, Julio Jones in 2012, Amon-Ra St. Brown 2022, Michael Thomas in 2016, Deshaun Jackson 2009, Jarvis Landry 2015, AJ Brown in 2020, Brandon Cooks in 2016, and Hakeem Nicks in 2011. And every single one of these guys, other than Nicks, completely smashed their age 24 season, where Jamar Chase averaged 23.71 points per game. So it is in the range of outcomes, like Debro was saying, for London to have that top tier, top 3 wide receiver finish this season.
All right, it's time to go to round 3. We are going to have a running back and a tight end represented here. So Mason, kick us off with your round 3 target.
Hopefully he stays in round 3. Hopefully he doesn't creep up to round 2, but had to call out Chase Brown here. Chase Brown from weeks 9 through 17 averaged 20.6 fantasy points per game when he was the starting running back for the Bengals. He had 86% of the Bengals snaps, which was 3rd in the NFL, 5.5 targets per game, which was 3rd in the NFL, 37.5 receiving yards per game, which was 3rd in the NFL during that time, 3rd in the NFL in total yards per game during that stretch. And still on his rookie contract, Zach Moss released. So the only competition is going to be Taj Brooks. Should be an offense that projects out to be one of the top scoring units in the league this year. And we're already getting reports that Chase Brown's actually going to get more involved as a receiver this season.
Yeah, the only thing working against you, like you said, might be that he's creeping up. On ECR ranks, he's actually 24. So that's like the last pick in the 2nd round versus ADP is the same thing. But there are plenty of scenarios in drafts that I have played in where he does get into the 3rd round. So this is a nice, perfect scenario. The only problem, you hype him up too much, he might be going a little bit too higher, Mason, and then you're going to have
exactly. That's what looking at his ADP across platforms, ESPN it's 32, Sleeper it's 29, Yahoo it's 24. What's actually funny is the average expert rank on our site has Chase Brown at like 17, like way higher than the 2-3 turn.
That's an absolute big difference. Debro, any quick thoughts on Chase Brown as a 3rd round target?
Volume play, man. I mean, if he reprises, and again, going back to the pass game utility, so many of these guys, like we're seeing less and less running back targets every single year. So the guys that have the high end upside in the passing games, I mean, this is what gives you ceiling and floor every single week, where Chase Brown might go out and run for 40 yards, but if he's catching 5 balls and getting 30 through the air and he scores, it doesn't freaking matter. So you want to see that pass game and receiving utility, and Chase Brown has it in this offense.
Someone had to do this. There's a lot of conversation around tight ends. Tight ends are being put higher. We're seeing instances where people want to look at Brock Bowers in the 1st round. We're in our tight end era, everybody. And there are 3 tight ends I think that a lot of people are looking at. I think we're pushing the envelope a tiny bit here, but I like that we are having this conversation because it's very prevalent. And Debro, you are making a commitment to a 3rd round tight end target. So let's hear which one of them it is.
Trey McBride could be one of those guys, again, talking about drafting players early that could define leagues. If Trey McBride, if the touchdown regression all hits this year with the volume that he is likely to see and the talent that he has, he could be a guy that, yes, after we flip over the cards and we're sitting there at week 17 or after fantasy championships and people are saying, dude, why didn't I take Trey McBride in the 1st round? Like, why didn't I do it? And I know, like, in this fictitious world, yes, like Bowers probably has to disappoint a little bit and George Kittle has to disappoint a little bit because you need that differentiation. But dude, Trey McBride could do it. I mean, last year he was top 3 in everything you pull up. 1st in target share, 2nd in receiving yards per game, 3rd in yards per route run, 1st in first downs per route run. So we know the guy is elite. He just didn't score any freaking touchdowns last year. Like 15.6 PPR points per game made him the tight end 2. Expected fantasy points per game, he was over 19 per game. So just with the volume and I don't think the Cardinals are going to run much different than what they did last year. That's why I'm not high on Marvin Harrison Jr. He's not making this list for me because I think Trey McBride is going to be their unquestioned wide receiver 1 in this offense. And if the touchdowns all hit, and we said this about, again, George Kittle, Everybody talked about, he can't score touchdowns until he did. So if Trey McBride scores the touchdowns this year, he could be the guy where you're looking at cross positionally. 19 fantasy points per game is putting you in that rarefied air where comparatively he's scoring close to being a top 5 wide receiver, a top 5 running back on a weekly basis. And if that happens, yes, at a onesie position, that's putting you over the top.
You kind of have to make the call that it's like second, third, or fourth round. Second for Bowers, third for McBride, fourth for Kittle. Yeah. Mason, you do not make that dictation here, but are there scenarios where a tight end becomes a must target per round, or are you playing in a different pool of tight ends?
I am 100% in agreement with this. I think Trey McBride outscores every wide receiver going in round 3.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I love that take so much.
Now take some hot sauce. Now take the ghost pepper, please, Mason. No, I'm just going to love it.
If I go over and look at the range of outcomes tool and you want to hear the 5 closest comps to Trey McBride at 25 years old since 2008.
Hit me, baby. Hit me.
Jimmy Graham, 2011. Rob Gronkowski, 2014. Jaden Reed, 2015. George Kittle, 2018. Then Vernon Davis, 2009. Like this dude has all the volume in the world. If you had that kind of target share at wide receiver in round 3, everybody would be fighting to draft that player, and you get it at tight end.
Love it, D, bro.
Making me feel some things, Mason. I'm loving it, man.
Yeah, you guys are both making the people happy. All right, we're going to be jumping into the next rounds here. We got round 4 through 10 in the big coverage, and we got a little bit more. But first, let's talk about our friends over at DraftKings. Get in the game. Best ball is live at DraftKings. $15 million is on the line with real stakes and real excitement. Best ball is the biggest fantasy contest at DraftKings. We're talking a $15 million guaranteed prize pool with 2 millionaires being crowned for first and second place. Play season-long fantasy football the DraftKings way. With Best Ball, there's no waiver wires, no roster management. You get bigger rosters, so no injuries are going to end your season. Just draft your team and you're set. If a shot at winning a share of $15 million isn't enough to get you excited, check this out. DraftKings is offering everyone a draft one, get one special. Your $20 entry fee scores you a bonus ticket. So download the DraftKings app and use code FANTASYPROS. That's code FANTASYPROS for all customers who enter the NFL Best Ball 15 millionaire contest to get a bonus ticket and get a shot at being crowned one of 2 millionaires only on DraftKings. Gentlemen, we are moving to round 4 and quarterbacks have entered the chat. So Mason, kick us off with your quarterback pick that you say you have to have in round 4.
So if we look over the past 4 years when Jalen Hurts, Allen, and Lamar have all been starting quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts has averaged 22 points per game. Lamar's at 21.7. Josh Allen's at 23.4, but I'm assuming that you can't get Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson in the 4th round, or you can consistently get Jalen Hurts in the middle to possibly the end of the 4th round in drafts at points. So I think Jalen Hurts for 4-point passing touchdown formats is a lot closer to Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson than he is the quarterbacks that are going to be going in round 5 and round 6. So if you wanted to get an elite quarterback, which I think would be a great thing to do in a league if you only have one flex spot, round 4 is a very reasonable price.
And, you know, it's pretty amazing, too, with just kind of the lack of efficiency as far as the passing game of what that team does and how he scores. So there is like further dreaming, like, what if they open it up a little bit more? And we know the tush push exists and will always be out there. Is Jalen Hurts a target for you, though, Debra? Or maybe the deeper question is, like, in the top 4 rounds, do you want to have one of the, like, Daniels? Obviously, if, like, Lamar fell, Burrow, is Jalen Hurts the end of that? Like, could you see yourself drafting round 4 quarterbacks?
I can see it definitively happen, and I love that Mason brings up Jalen Hurts here because if you're going to go with the elite guy, I want the elite guy at the end of that tier, and that's Jalen Hurts. And some drafts, Joe Burrow will go ahead of him. He'll be the QB5 and not the QB4 off the board. I've seen it happen in best balls and early redrafts, and I'm not there. I understand that people want to do that, but Hurts is fantastic, man. And the thing that I want to highlight here is the Eagles are going to throw the ball more this year. We can all kind of quibble about how much more. They were legendarily run heavy last year. They had times where A.J. Brown missed time. They had times where the offense looked terrible. They had times where Devonta Smith was banged up. Dallas Goedert was in and out of the lineup. He gets his guys healthy this year, and I know A.J. Brown's dealing with a hamstring, but if he's healthy this season, Jalen Hurts to have a bounce back. Like this offense is going to throw more, and that's going to lead hopefully to more passing touchdowns for Jalen Hurts. And the rushing touchdowns aren't going anywhere. Tush push or not, doesn't matter. He's going to run for 10 plus.
Well, Debro, you did not go with a quarterback, but you are planting a flag on a running back. So your round 4, I've already given it away. It is a running back, but who is it?
It's one of the greatest reasons why you don't have to draft a running back, and I'm not saying that you can't, in the top 3 rounds. It's Kenneth Walker, dude. When you can get a guy that was an RB1 last year in the 4th round at RB2 price tags, you do it all day. And you just say thank you to the rest of the draft room for allowing this to happen. Kenneth Walker, RB12 in fantasy points per game. The Seattle Seahawks, and I know he's dealing with a foot issue right now, but it doesn't sound like it's big, and I'm not worried about it. We're sitting here recording this in the first week of August, so nobody should be worried about those unless you get more in-depth news about it being worse. So you need to be following Fantasy Pros news and stuff and everything with the app and have alerts on right now. But like with Walker, it gets lost so much that he was an RB1 last year. The pass game utility, like this dude amongst 45 qualifying running backs last year was top 6 in first downs per route run, target per route run rate, and receiving yards per game. And the Seattle Seahawks have told us all offseason they're going to run the ball more this year. He's going to be centric to what they do on offense on numerous levels. And people can have concerns about the injuries. That's why you get Kenneth Walker here. You can have concerns about the offensive line. That's why you get Kenneth Walker here. But the dude's going to catch passes. He's still one of the best per touch running backs and tackle breaking guys in the NFL. This is like if you could draft Jonathan Taylor of yesteryear or Nick Chubb in his prime, but they have pass catching upside in the 4th round, sign me up all day.
Man, you're hyping up. You would think we're going to be talking about the next guy here. Wait till you get all jacked up. An interesting thing you can do if you're ever looking at the Fantasy Pros ranks page and you're looking at the overall and ECR and everything, is there's like a section on the corner that says ECR versus ADP. And if you want to just have like a quick understanding of like values, you can go and look and see when you see plus. So I mentioned that before with I'm forgetting who I think it was. Who the heck was it we were just talking about that I gave? Oh, Drake London. So Drake London, you see like a value for rankers loving this player versus how they're being drafted. The same thing is happening here with Ken Walker. There's a 5. There's a +5. So he's being ranked right at the top of this round, but he's going more mid-round. So there's a value, at least versus like what drafts are giving us to what the overall valuation is. Mason, do you have any thoughts on Ken Walker here?
Yeah, one point that Debro made that I really like is the receiving usage kind of went under the radar last year. Because if you look at the college profiles of Charbonnet versus Kenneth Walker, it's like, oh, Charbonnet was probably going to be the receiving back in the NFL. But last season, that didn't play out. Kenneth Walker was the guy that got targeted.
All right, so we are now jumping to, where are we jumping to? We're jumping to round 5. Round 5 is in here. These are some slick names. I very, very much like this group that we're going to do. So Mason, you're going to kick it off. We're going to jump into wide receiver, which I think there's some varying degrees of where people sit. And it has to do with another wide receiver who a suspension could be coming, but where people are at on him. So round 5, you've got a wide receiver. And who's that player?
I'm going to take Xavier Worthy. Now, full transparency, I may or may not have graduated from the University of Texas, so I could be a little bit biased here. But
aren't you obligated to hook him after you say that, by the way?
Hook him Lawrence. We'll throw him out.
He's got the calendar behind him. I mean, it's he's got the promos everywhere for Texas.
But I don't know what else we want to see. This was a wide receiver that goes in round 1 of the NFL draft. 21-year-old rookie season. The final 6 weeks, he averages 15.6 fantasy points per game, finishing as the wide receiver 24. You have a full-blown breakout once you get to the actual NFL playoffs. And the Kansas City Chiefs were at an all-time low with their passing volume last year. So I think it's almost impossible to project the Chiefs to be as low scoring this year as they were last. I think the passing volume is only going to go in the positive direction. We can look at the player comparison tool and say, oh, okay, most wide receivers at an age 21 year like Xavier Worthy did, aka maybe Jackson Smith and Jigba, did improve going into their age 22 season. So I'm completely fine drafting Xavier Worthy as like my wide receiver 3, possibly ranking him as a top 24 name when Rashee Rice is suspended at the beginning of the year. But obviously, if we were to be surprised and if Rice doesn't get suspended, Worthy's probably a little less exciting.
I'm one of the higher rankers on Worthy right now, too, on our site. I think I have him around like 20. I'm not the highest, but I have him over consensus. I've got him like 22. But that is also because I'm just taking a hardline stance that like Rashee Rice is going to be suspended for a significant amount of time. And even if he's not, I don't know that right now. And that's looming. I was one of the bigger on Rashee Rice. The health I thought was a really solid space we were in. But because of this, I'm flipping, and I think Worthy's getting an opportunity to really go. So I'm just taking dramatic stances until I'm told otherwise. Debro, where are you at on that same thing? Are you a little hesitant to be anywhere with Worthy because Rice is looming in the suspension, or are you taking any hardline stances?
I'm taking more of the stance on that. I think Rice's suspension could be more in the 2 to 3 game area, and if it's more on the low end of that, then I have more worries about Worthy, and I'm more in on Rice. So right now, the way I'm approaching it, again, we're all just, it's a guessing game with this because it could be 2 games, it could be 6 games. I'm playing the contrarian side of this, where I think it's 2 to 3 games, and if that's the case, then it's basically a nothing burger for Rice. So I'm more in on Rice, and I'm kind of like moved Worthy down.
Yeah, and if Rice was not getting suspended at all, I had him at like, I think 13 or something. Like I would be dramatically targeting him.
Agreed.
But it's not worth it right now. Everybody and their mother who knows Debro knew this name was coming. It was just, what round would you say you have to get him? So without further ado, it's RJ Harvey time, everybody, because it's round 5. So let's hear it, Debro.
It's because I like talented backs, and again, that have massive pass catching upside. At this point of his career, we know J.K. Dobbins is not going to catch a lot of passes. He didn't do it in college. He had 1.0 yards per route run. In the NFL, 0.7. Like, it's just not part of his game. I always projected somebody in this Denver offense to siphon off 125, 140 carries away from RJ Harvey. So the fact that that's Dobbins and it's not Estime doesn't move the needle at all. We know what Sean Payton is going to do. Like, go back all the way to like freaking like forever. 2010, 2011. They're going to throw the ball to the running backs. That has happened in New Orleans. It's happened in Denver. They've been top 5 in target share to the running back position in each of the last 2 years. So enters RJ Harvey, who they drafted in the 2nd round. It's not my fault that people were lower on him as a prospect than everybody else. Like, that's not my fault. So I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, but he's an RB2. Dude, if he is the lead back in the Denver Broncos offense, and we know Sean Payton is going to feed a top 5 target share to this backfield, and Dobbins isn't catching passes. Estime has never caught passes. Julian McLaughlin couldn't keep a role in this backfield last year with Sean Payton at all on a consistent basis. Who the heck else is catching the freaking passes for the running backs outside of RJ Harvey? Like, you want to talk about talent, opportunity, all the different parts of pieces, and he's going to live inside of what is going to be a top 10 scoring offense this year. Yes, RJ Harvey, 5th round, every single time. Auto lock, on pick, every single time. I'll take him in the 4th, but the fact that I can get him in the 5th round, again, another opportunity to just smile at the rest of the draft room and say, thank you.
And also, you missed your opportunity where if we had the glove, George Kittle's glove, we go, why so serious? And then you just do, because the Joker role. Everybody is putting Evan Ingram in there, but you could have Harvey into that. So you are very serious business about RJ Harvey. Mason, what about you? This is the first introduction of one of these rookies, especially at the RB spot. Do you think round 5 is the right territory to be taking RJ Harvey?
I like RJ Harvey in the situation, don't get me wrong, but the only reason I wouldn't be taking him here in round 5 is I think my rookie running back in round 6 is a better value.
Oh, sweet. All right. Well, what a perfect transition. All right. We got 6 through 10. We're going to go a little bit quicker on these because we still got a lot more shows. So we are unfortunately not going to get the pickups on what you guys think about each pick. So you'll just have to bury it deep inside of you and maybe put it in the comments or something like that. So let's go to round 6. Perfect transition. Mason's a pro. Let's hear the running back that you would rather have than RJ Harvey.
Everything Debro just said about RJ Harvey, I think remains true for TreVeyon Henderson. I think Ramondre versus Dobbins, about equivalent. I think the offenses are both very good. I think they're both going to have to target the running back heavily because the receivers in New England, very thin beyond Stephon Diggs. I just personally think TreVeyon Henderson's the better running back between the two. And if he goes like a round later, I'm fine taking TreVeyon Henderson. It's not an anti-RJ Harvey thing. It's more like I just am in love with TreVeyon Henderson, the prospect.
There's a lot of takes in there too of you guys building around the receiving side of both of these players. So I think that could be the big differentiating factor. Whether it's Ramondre in New England has his role still on the ground if there's a rotation in Denver, and then who's the guy that steps up on the receiving side. It's a very, very interesting argument, and it's kind of fascinating because it's like all those rookie running backs go around the same time. It's around this 5 or 6. Whether it's Hampton a little bit earlier, and then it's Harvey, and then it's Henderson, and then my guy Caleb Johnson just sitting out there going last, and I'm swooping him up whenever I can. But you, Debro, also have a rookie. So rookies have officially entered the chat now, but you're going on the wide receiver side. I am lockstep with you on this player. I had to get this guy as my wide receiver 3 in every place that I can, and we are doing it here in round 6.
Dude, this is a guy you could draft as your wide receiver 3 for your teams, and I'm even comfortable getting him as your wide receiver 2 because I think he is going to be a locked-in wide receiver 2. And I have to give Worm a shout out here because he brought this up, and I think it's a perfect comparison. This player is basically in what we were doing last year with Malik Neighbors, but I could tell you that the surrounding cast, quarterback play, all those things are better, and that's Tetairoa McMillan. For what people talked about this being a down wide receiver class, dude, like I was never there, and we're going to talk about it, some other rookie wide receivers later. Tetairoa McMillan never deserved any of the shade that he got during the draft process. He went high in the draft. He goes to Carolina, and everybody's like, oh, snubbing their noses at it. And I'm telling you, this guy is going to be a wide receiver 2. He has upside for even more. Whether you want to talk about talent, we talk about he can be the alpha in that wide receiver room. Dave Canellis has already come out and talked about they are going to feed a ton of ball into Tetairoa McMillan and push him. And that tells me everything I need to know. He's probably going to get sniff in that 140, 150 target range. At this spot in a draft, that is free money. And the spot that I think people were are missing the boat on here is his receiving touchdown upside in an offense that quietly, because they didn't throw a ton last year or as much, and the offense wasn't good for half the season until Bryce Young really hit his stride down the stretch. This offense was 4th in red zone passing rate, 12th in passing rate inside of the 10-yard line. They repeat that this year with Tetairoa McMillan at the top. He's spiking 10-plus touchdowns. And that's the difference of being a wide receiver 3 versus being a wide receiver 2, or maybe closer to fringe wide receiver 1 this year.
So now let's move to round 7. And I really like this player, but this is where, well, she's a little bit of a hypocrite because I told you earlier that Rashee Rice, I am just burying because I'm really worried it's going to be a significant. And I still think 4 games is kind of a significant suspension, but there's a possibility it could be a lot more. In that same token, I am not giving those same flowers to Jordan Addison. And Mason, you co-sign that. Round 7, Jordan Addison. I really like it because it could be your wide receiver 3, maybe a wide receiver 4 in a lot of instances. So I'm walking with you on this one. So let's hear why he's your target in round 7.
Yeah, a lot of times you take a player in round 7, you may not even need to start them week 1 anyway. I mean, he's going pick 78 on Yahoo, 71 on Sleeper, 79 on ESPN. And if we're looking at Addison, round 1 NFL draft pick, Biletnikoff winner, great rookie season, even better year 2. From a talent perspective, what could you possibly want that this guy does not have in comparison to the players that he's going around? And honestly, again, like you said, if he gets suspended 1 game, 2 games, I don't really care because those first 2 games, it's not like we have anybody on bye. Shouldn't be really dealing with many injuries. You probably don't want to stack like Jordan Addison, Brandon Ayuk, and Chris Godwin all in the same team together. But as long as you don't take all of them, should be fine.
Well, and the big thing too was like when you were taking Rashee Rice, you were taking him as like a wide receiver 1 or 2. Like he was stuck into your offense. Addison in a lot of spots can be taken as your wide receiver 4, and you're not even in the space of needing him out there. And there's kind of a lot of that this year as well with some of the guys you're talking about or further. There are players that it's like it doesn't matter if you don't get production early on. Addison's upside is pretty real. Debro, in round 7, you are sticking with a wide receiver as well.
Yeah, man, it's Calvin Ridley time, and it's easy, free volume and upside. Like if Cam Ward is legitimately good, what's to stop Calvin Ridley from being this year's Terry McLaurin? There's nothing, man. Like, so this is bet on offense, bet on volume, bet on like there's no other high-end target earners. Like they don't have another receiving option on Tennessee's depth chart that probably sniffs above an 18% target share, even in the best of circumstances this year. So Calvin Ridley, 120 targets, was 18th amongst wide receivers last year. Dude, you could bump him up into that 140 range, and this is how you make up, like, if you start running back heavy earlier, you go with the tight end premium, or you go with a quarterback early and stuff, and you're like, okay, now I need a wide receiver 3 that maybe in a lot of weeks can produce as a wide receiver 2, but I'm comfortable with them as my 3 because of the volume I'm getting every single week. If Cam Ward's good, Calvin Ridley is going to be very good too.
Let's move into round 8. And oh, yes, I'm walking with Mason again. This is another one of my targets. Wrote this bad boy up. Homer City. But Mason, let's hear which wide receiver you were targeting in round 8.
So again, going back to the Niners projecting out to be close to like a top 5 offense this year, Ayuk, we have no idea when he's playing. Jawan Jennings currently banged up. This leaves Ricky Pearsall as the only dude in this offense. Goes pick 91 Yahoo, 103 Sleeper, and pick 100 on ESPN. You got the flashes at the very end of the year. Obviously, rookie season derailed by the fact that the dude got shot. What do you want from him? But he still does give you the absolute blow up at the end of his rookie season with the round 1 NFL draft capital. So I'm fine. Just continue to hammer wide receiver depth here.
Debro, your guy here is someone I was just talking with Scott Bogman about that. Like, I got to get higher. You got to get higher. And I think he is the number 1 wide receiver that you take when you've taken any theoretical risk. You take a rookie, maybe you take an Addison, like this guy.
You draft Rashee Rice.
Yeah, you draft receiver. This guy balances out your team, and he's just like a must-have. This might be the most must-have player of all these round targets. So hit us with this wideout. Who is who?
Yeah, if you're embracing risk and upside with some of these guys that can miss time and what have you, like Jakobi Meyers, again, like I know that I'm higher on the Raiders offense than a lot of other people. I think they're going to be better than people are projecting right now. And Meyers, again, it is free volume, man. Like this is where you make up the volume, or you insulate your rosters from the risk of earlier rounds where you're shooting on upside and stuff like that. Meyers, at the departure of Devontae Adams last year, was wide receiver 18 in fantasy points per game. This dude was commanding almost a 24% target share. And I'm not telling you that he's going to produce as a wide receiver 2 on a weekly basis. But as a wide receiver 3, as a guy in PPR leagues where you are consistently comfortable plugging him into your wide receiver 3 in your flex spot, or him covering one of those starting spots, like if you draft Rashee Rice, this is the player that you pair him with because you know you're going to get the consistent role and production out of Meyers. And when Rice comes back, you're plugging in maybe a top 15 wide receiver into that spot. So yes, draft all the Jakobi Meyers.
I'm in agreement. Round 9, we got a wide receiver and a quarterback. Mason, you are building up that wide receiver core. Who's a wide receiver that you have to have in round 9?
Yeah, this may be a little bit of a cheap call because he goes earlier than this on Yahoo and Sleeper, but he goes pick 148 on ESPN, which is crazy. Josh Downs, I don't know what you want. This is another young wide receiver that has flash talents continuing to get better. And the only thing that I would be hesitant with is if Anthony Richardson is the starting quarterback here, Downs probably isn't usable. But if it's Daniel Jones, the passing offense should definitely be a lot better in Indianapolis, where obviously with Richardson, you're more so going to be looking at the running game.
The one thing I'd throw out, though, is if Richardson does make some of those strides they're talking about, we know he's just a big, huge arm, make those big plays. But part of that progression would have to be about more high efficiency throws, which to me would speak to Josh Downs, would be them forcing him to be more efficient by throwing down the middle and having a guy like Josh Downs out of the slot. So I don't disagree with what you're saying that if Anthony Richardson there, it could make him unusable. But also if Anthony Richardson is going to be a thing like Bogman has said he's going to be, then that might be because Josh Downs has that big step up and it's a focal point to make him more efficient in that offense, just as a little aside. And I'm with you on Downs. Debro, you are stamping in your quarterback here, and we've actually kind of already been talking about him. So let's hear this quarterback in round 9 that you need to have.
Yeah, if you're waiting on quarterback, this is the guy that you take the upside shot on because we've seen it year after year after year, man. It's Dak Prescott. I mean, we're only one season removed from this guy being the QB4 in fantasy points per game. He was 7th in yards per attempt. He was 8th in CPOE. And last year with Dallas, their offense just was broken at the beginning of the season. Every defense knew what was coming. It was CeeDee Lamb. If I stop CeeDee Lamb, what else you got? But weeks 1 through 8, Dallas was still 8th in neutral passing rate. This team is going to be top 10 in passing attempts. And if anything happens to Michael Parsons, are they going to be like this year's version of NFC Cincinnati, where it's dude, they're passing every freaking week. It's going to be a ton of CeeDee Lamb. It's going to be George Pickens, and the winner is Dak Prescott. And a couple of seasons, if he is fully healthy this year, I'm not ruling out that we see him run. I'm not telling you he's going to run for 500 yards, but if he runs for, say, 300 plus on the ground, gets a handful of rushing touchdowns, that's adding to the floor and ceiling. But Dak Prescott is the guy you can get at a low-end QB1 price tag, some spots high-end QB2, and he legitimately could revisit and put up top 5 numbers this year.
Yeah, and I was going to say, like, you're talking, I mean, I guess he has moved up to 12, but I've seen spots where he hasn't gone in the top 15 quarterbacks.
Yeah,
so there's
I've
definitely
seen him drop to like 14, 15 in some drafts.
And if CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens are going to live up to the values of where they are as far as ECR and everything, then it's going to be because Dak Prescott has been a dude. All right, round 10, running back, Mason. Who do you got for your round 10 target?
I'm going to go J.K. Dobbins. I think you have the premium handcuff appeal if R.J. Harvey were to get injured. And I think if you go with the 0 RB build, there's a chance that Dobbins is usable at the beginning of the season. But it's mainly just this Denver Broncos backfield is going to be so valuable that if anything were to occur to R.J. Harvey, I think Dobbins crushes.
Debro, you got a little bit more on the rookie side. We got a rookie wide receiver. This is a nice sneaky one. You could have even maybe snuck this one into our rapid fire round we're going to do here for late rounds, but let's hear it.
I could have, but I want to take this guy a little bit ahead of ADP, depending on where you're looking at ADP, because guys, I'm old enough to remember last year when we were all in on Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, and Tank Dell, and it's just like, oh, who do you want to draft? And now nobody wants to draft anybody out of the Houston's passing attack outside of Nico Collins. And I've been pounding the table the entire offseason. I'm going to continue to do it here on Jayden Higgins. Consolidated passing attack. This guy was really, really good throughout the entire pre-draft process. Final 2 years of college, 27th, 16th in yards per route run. We know the athleticism is there, and he's going to be the starter in 2 wide receiver sets opposite Nico Collins. So Jayden Higgins, yes, as a guy you're drafting as your wide receiver 5 on a lot of different teams, we could be midseason. He's producing as a borderline 2-3 for your lineups. Yeah, this is where you get to where you're taking the shots on talent, upside, and opportunity.
Debro and Mason have been putting some really big decisions on our plates here of like, where are they doing as far as where their decisions have gone and how are they going to construct what their favorite targets are. So when you're drafting, these decisions are going to come fast. That's where Draft Assistant connects directly to your draft and provides both real-time pick suggestions and estimations on which players might get taken before your next pick. Draft Assistant fully integrates your customized cheat sheets and suggests picks based on your rankings, team build, ADP, and other factors, as well as whatever rankers out there you want to set for your pick suggestions. Dominate your draft in real time without the guesswork with Draft Assistant at fantasypros.com/assistant or on the Fantasy Football Draft Wizard app. Try it for free during your draft by claiming your 3-day trial of Fantasy Pros Premium at fantasypros.com/premium. That's fantasypros.com/premium. Mason, also, just to throw out before we get into our rapid round, we were joking before and you were being like, oh, I don't have a podcast. And that's because Mason literally lives on YouTube, on the Flock Fantasy YouTube channel, which incredible following, incredible stuff you're doing. Why don't you tell people, because you've also cited some of your guys' tools, why don't you tell us a little bit about Flock Fantasy if people are not familiar?
Yeah, just search Flock Fantasy on YouTube. I live stream drafts every single night, videos every single day. Try to put a lot of work into it, and hopefully you like it.
And thank you for taking literal time out from you just living on the YouTube to come over to our YouTube for a second. It's nice to have been able to steal you for just a second. Guys, we're going to go into a rapid fire round. So this is like rounds 11 through 15. ADPs are kind of out the window a little bit, so you guys have a lot more freedom. We're going to go rapid style fire, so you guys have about 30 seconds to break down your pick. We're going to go boom, boom, boom. Rounds 11 through 15. Let's start. Mason, your round 11 rapid fire target.
Tyler Warren, great collegiate production, great draft capital, and great athleticism, and he's going to play almost 80% of the snaps week 1.
This one is chef's kiss to me. Love the Tyler Warren pick there, especially if you get more efficiency on the Anthony Richardson side. Debro, round 11. Who do you got?
Waiting on quarterbacks, baby. It's J.J. McCarthy time. A guy that I think is going to be a locked-in QB1. We're talking about talent. We're talking about upside. We're talking about situation. We know KOC is going to pass the ball a ton. We just saw Sam Darnold. Yes, that's Sam Darnold. Produces the QB9 at fantasy points per game. You cannot tell me J.J. McCarthy can't equal that or best it in 2025.
As a quick follow-up, is it important for you to get Dak and McCarthy as a pairing? Do you like, okay, so this is
give me a floor, both those guys. This is how I'm approaching drafts, man. Double tap on late quarterback.
Yeah, I want to make sure this was a calculated decision that it's like you want JJ McCarthy and you have the floor of a guy like Dak Prescott. I like that a lot. Round 12, a lot of buzz about this guy, Mason, that you're picking for your round 12 target.
Yeah, Trey Benson, think he's a premium handcuff back. Great prospect coming out last year. Sadly, we didn't get to see him much his rookie year, but he was efficient when he did touch the ball. And hopefully he does have an expanded role, but you're probably just looking at a handcuff.
But if you're talking about James Conner, talking about him being an RB1 in that offense. So there's hopefully a lot of buzz there. Debro, what do you think? What do you think for your round 12 target?
Staying in the Trey streets, baby. It's Tre Harris. And I will caveat this with, if Keenan Allen does sign there, then I'm going to drop him. He's still worth a late round pickup. But Tre Harris, it's talent, it's opportunity, it's upside. This guy was 1st and 9th in yards per route run. If he would have stayed healthy his final collegiate season, he probably would have gone 1st round of the NFL draft. And quietly, if the Chargers throw more this year, and I'm not telling you they're going to be top 10, top 12 in passing rate, but more weapons around Justin Herbert, a fully healthy version of Justin Herbert for the entirety of this season, we could see the Bolts really surprise with a lot of these pass catchers, and Tre Harris is the guy that I want to take from this offense.
Mason, round 3, you and I feel like our rank, we're kind of lockstep a little bit here because you got a lot of the same targets that I'm going with. And I feel like a lot of people are kind of negative in that Cleveland situation, just being like, I'll wash my hands of it. But the guy you picked in round 13, to me, I think is one of those it doesn't matter what it is. 0 running back, you go high, upside, rookie running backs, whatever it is. I'm really comfortable walking out of drafts with Jerome Ford late. And that was your pick for round 13 targets.
Yeah, overall, the last 3 rounds, I want players that I can cut after week 1 if I don't like their roles.
Love that.
So Jerome Ford, he could be a starting running back week 1. If he's not, if it's Dylan Sampson, if Judkins ends up being okay, then we'll go ahead and we'll cut Jerome Ford and we'll hit the waiver wire because they'll be interesting pickups. But also, he could be a starting running back week 1.
Yeah, and it could stick around. I mean, the Judkins stuff is messy and gross, and that's another one. I want no part of it. Like, he's not even signed, so no thank you. Dylan Sampson, obviously a dude, but Ford's going to be out there some, and it's kind of just a late round filler pick that I like the idea that you could easily cut him. And if he just starts rolling out early in the season, it might provide you a little bit more balance to your offense. Debro, you're going with a Green Bay wide receiver. Who could it be? It could be any of them. They're all around this range. None of them are really that super high, I guess, if you like Jayden Reed. So we'll spin the wheel. And where does it stop in the Green Bay wide receiver core for you?
On a guy that I have not been super high on in previous years, but everything is screaming that we need to be, and that's Romeo Doubs, man. Like, I was lower as a prospect on Matthew Golden. This is not an anti-Matthew Golden take, but we've already seen, like, in the camp usage right now, Jayden Reed is going to play the same role that he's played. So when they go too wide, he's not going to be out there. They're going to have Dobbs and Golden and everything Dobbs did below the surface last year. One, at his ADP, he's a fantastic value. Like, he produced as a wide receiver 4 last year, and you're getting him way after that. 2, if you look at just his separation metrics on a per route basis, this guy screams like big breakout season coming. Amongst 112 qualifying wide receivers last year, Romeo Doubs, 11th in separation, 2nd in route win rate. You're following these metrics? This is what kind of leads you to these undercover gems in these late rounds.
I think it's interesting too. I don't think a lot of people would have expected that too when we were spinning the Green Bay wheel that you would go there. Round 14, we're really in this space where, like Mason said, you're kind of looking for interchangeable players. You're looking for players that are going to be able to hit. You guys both pick some running backs. So Mason, why don't you kick it off? Round 14, who do you got?
Yeah, we'll see what the role's like week 1, but they're telling us that Braelon Allen's going to be involved in this offense. And if that's true, we'll see if he's any good. And if anything were to occur to Pearsall, he could be a league winner. And if it's not true, again, super easy cut after week 1.
Super, super easy cut. Debro, you're going with a very hot buzz camp guy. The question marks of like, where will he be? Because I got a lot of guys, but I think a lot of people are saying he'll be somewhere. So this Kansas City running back is who?
Dude, I've been talking about Brashard Smith. People can go check the receipts since the pre-draft process, and the upside is massive here. He could be the Jerick McKinnon in this offense. And for everybody that says, oh, but a 7th round pick can't do that. Oh, but y'all believe in Isaiah Pacheco. You do remember he was drafted in the 7th round as well. If Pacheco goes down, Brashard Smith he can play in the passing attack and he can get it done in early downs. Like, this could be the guy where you pick him up, anything happens to Pacheco, and he's the lead back for KC's offense. And it's not Kareem Hunt. For a player that is a converted wide receiver, his final year, he was 2nd in receiving grade and 22nd in yards per route run. He's got juice, man. This is, if you're talking about the guys that I can pick up, and it's all upside. And if I cut them after week 1, week 2, week 3, it doesn't matter. Brashard Smith, it needs to be drafted in a ton of spots.
I think that's the theory too, because I do think you can build out the scenario where you're like, yeah, Kareem Hunt's the goal line guy. And then they also have Elijah Mitchell. Like, there are some problems that exist in there, but if you take that theory he's the perfect pick because you can just cut bait if it is absolutely nothing in week one. And wouldn't you hate to be the person that said, I'm going to pass on him. Then all of a sudden he gets volume and now you're playing the waiver wire streets after week one. Nothing worse than overspending in week one off of a big high performance or something like that. All right, this is our final round. This is round 15. Mason, who is your final pick in this draft? Obviously, you've laid the groundwork where you wanting that playable upside, but someone you're really easily willing to cut. So who is that?
It's going to be Miles Sanders. Not trending well. Jaden Blue is getting all the buzz out of Dallas right now. I think you'd rather have Jaden Blue over Sanders. He's currently dealing with an injury himself. But I would expect that you actually have to spend a reasonable draft pick on Blue, where Miles Sanders could be your last pick.
Yeah, a lot of those, like Miles Sanders looks better than Javonte Williams, and you can already feel like something is brewing there. And from negative to positive on Blue, I totally get the vibe on this one. Debro, where are you going?
I'm going with Jarquez Hunter, and I know Kyron Williams just got the extension. I still think that this is going to be a split backfield. I don't think the Rams are going to run every single thing through Kyron Williams like they've done every other year. Blake Corum proved he wasn't up to that task last year. Jarquez Hunter could be, as a player that you stack up these skill sets side by side with all these guys in this Rams backfield. Hunter is the guy that is built different than Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. He offers the explosive ability and the explosive upside for the Rams rushing attack for a player that, look, inside the top 24 in yards after contact per attempt in each of the last 3 seasons in college that he was there, and top 22 in breakaway percentage in 2 of those 3 years. So Jarquez Hunter, again, a player that if he doesn't have any role, and I'm wrong about this, you're cutting him. But if he has a standalone role from week one and that grows, and if Williams misses any time, this is the guy we're ranking as a top 24 running back probably on a weekly basis.
This guy did not make the list of the players that you guys are trying to draft, but I think it's probably going to make the list of memorabilia you're going to want. This month, you guys have got a chance to win a signed A.J. Brown Eagles Salute to Service helmet for free, courtesy of our friends over at pristineauction.com. So here's all that you've got to do. Subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now. So do it right now. If you're listening on the podcast, go over there and do it. If you're here, you shouldn't wait any longer. Drop a comment below on any video this month. And that's it. That's it. There's no other stuff. I have no other rules for you guys. Just subscribe and comment. And we're going to be announcing a winner right here on the channel. So I want to make sure you turn on those notifications so you know when we've got other great videos like these. And so you can claim your prize of that A.J. Brown Eagles Salute to Service helmet, courtesy of Pristine Auction. Gentlemen, we've got one final thing. We have covered 30 players that you guys must have across drafts. But who is the one player you cannot leave a draft without? We are going to switch it up. We're going to end with Mason. Debro, who is the one player that we talked about that you cannot leave your draft without?
It's easily Tetairoa McMillan, the wide receiver 3 that is going to produce as a wide receiver 2. And if he's this year's Malik Neighbors, he's going to win leagues for people.
Mason, you got to represent the Flock Fantasy here. Everyone's dying to know of all the players. Who is the one that you cannot leave your draft without?
I got to keep it where Debro's going. Round 6 rookie. We're going to go TreVeyon Henderson. Then give an elite prospect profile. Perfect situation. If it wasn't for Ramondre being there, I think this would be a round 3 pick, but Ramondre gives you the discount, and I don't think Ramondre is relevant halfway through the year.
And you guys both picked rookies. So I throw back out, outside of Jeanty, because he's not a value, there's a lot of value in the rookie market with a whole lot of upside. And I would say based on a lot of what you guys have built, from Jakobi Meyers to even what Mason was doing on the back half of running backs, there's a lot of chalk that's sitting out there. There's some safety plays that you can protect yourself with the high upside plays. Now, there's plenty of people that don't care about that don't need, I don't care about being safe. I'm going to take my shots. If you're not first, you're last. But I think in proper roster construction, you should walk out of drafts with some of those really high upside plays, but find spots to protect them in. And you guys made the dictation that you have to have these high upside rookies, and you've backed it up with some of your draft picks in here that were some safety plays that protect you. Jakobi Meyers protects you, Debro. As you built through the draft, Mason, you put running backs in there that have got some serious floor plays if it takes Henderson a little bit of time. So I really like that. But we want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think below? Who are your favorite targets every single round? You can drop the whole thing. Give us all the rounds and your favorite targets. And who is your favorite target between Mason, and Debro in here. Drop those comments below. And guess what? When you did it, you've already set yourself up as long as you're subscribed to be entered in for that AJ Brown helmet. Gentlemen, you did it. You built the whole draft. It was fantastic. Make sure to go and check out Mason over at Flock Fantasy on YouTube. It's a huge channel, just like Fantasy Pros. Fantastic stuff. And literally, if you go click over there right after this video, he's probably live right now. He's probably just lives over there live talking to you guys. So make sure you go and check out Flock Fantasy. And make sure you check out Debro and the rest of the crew and everything we've got with the Fantasy Draft Kit on Fantasy Pros. So fantasypros.com/kit. Tons and tons of articles, ranks, there's strategy, and obviously we're going to want you to download the apps because there are so many amazing tools to help you, from the draft assistant to the draft wizard. Draft smarter, not harder. For Mason and Debro, I'm Chris Welsh. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, and we'll talk to you next time right here on Fantasy Pros Football Podcast.